Good morning, art buddies, and welcome to Bricolage with Paint Girly. I wanted to do some watercolor ornaments. I'm really not a watercolor person, but I'm trying to learn. And so I've seen a couple of reels where they look really simple to do, and they kind of are. And you've probably seen something very similar to this. This is nothing new and not my idea. But then I went ahead and added a few other little things to it. And the one I'm going to do for you now, I might add a couple of additional things as well. So just three little ornaments. And today I'm going to use my Kurtaki Art Nouveau colors. I've got out my gold set here from Fine Tech. So I'm going to use some of that. I pulled out one of my Tim Holtz holiday stencils. And I learned a couple of things, which I'm going to do a little differently while I show this to you how I approached it. So I took a piece of watercolor paper, 140 pound, and just cut it into a 4x6 size. So I have a few of those here. And what I did was put my ornaments on first individually, and then I stenciled. But this time I'm going to stencil first because I think that would be better. Because if you look at this real closely, you can see my stencil through the bulb. I don't really want that. So I'm going to try it a little differently. So hang in there with me. I'm going to do the same colors again. These are different shades of blue and teal. And so I'm just going to go into my light teal. No, it's a light baby blue color. And I'm just using a tea light, but you could use a bottle cap. And I'm just painting the rim with my watercolor. Now, being a novice at watercolor, like anything else, there's a learning curve. So I'm still learning. So I'm going to put this down fairly low, and I'm going to start, I'm hoping, in the center. The one I showed you, I got a little off center. So I'm going to try to center this guy a little bit more. And so that's going to leave a ring of paint for you. So what you want to do, I think, is take that extra paint off of your brush that you put on your tea light or your bottle cap, whatever you're using. And then to me, one of the biggest tricks is to not have too much water on your paintbrush. Now, this is a very light blue, so I'm just dragging this color from the rim in towards the center of my ornament here. And I want to leave a little catch light or reflection. So I just now have gone back in. Now you'll notice I did not pre-wet my paper. And I'm trying to not use too much water on my brush. And I'm just going to gently start bringing this around the ornament, the outside edge here. Now you could put this in your December daily journal. You could send this or give this to someone as is, like a little piece of art, or you could affix it to a card front. Now I want to put a little more color on that outside edge to deepen this a little bit. So I'm using quite a bit of the watercolor. Now I'm going to rinse my brush, take off most of that water, and just start kind of moving it around. I want it to blend as best as I can. If you can see that okay. Then I want to leave that dry. Now I'm going to go into a darker shade. of blue. And I'm going, oh, no, no, I want to remember. See, this is what I want to do different. I want to do the bulb over here, but I want to have my stencil on first. And I'm going to use my Distress Oxide tumbled glass. So I'm going to dry this real quick here. I don't want to get my hand in that wet paint. So I'm going to take my holiday stencil here that I have from Tim Holtz, and I just want a little portion of it on this corner. And I'm going to take one of my little makeup brushes that I use for my blues. And I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I think it will. And I'm just going to rub my stencil, get some color here in this corner. Let's have a little peek here. It looks pretty good. Now, if you don't have this stencil, you could really use any kind of a background stencil or any kind of a look, that you like. Using stuff you have available. All right. So now I'm going to come back to my little tea light here. And I'm going to take my next color of blue, which is more like I would call it a robin's egg blue. And of course, you could do these in any color that you want. And I'm just carefully, painting on some of this color on that little tiny edge of my tea light. And I'm going to pop this one, I'm hoping, up here. I dropped one earlier when I was practicing, so you want to be careful. And I'm hoping this will work the way I think. So I've placed that right on top of my stenciled design. So I'm hoping when I come in here with my wet brush to drag that color in, I'm going to be able to dissipate that stencil. Now, I may not like this as well as I think I will, but I want to try it this way. Make sure I stay in frame here. So I want my little branches, my little stencil, to look like it's behind the Christmas ornament. I'm going to grab a little more of that darker blue. You need to take your time because you want your ornament to stay as round as you can. And I like to put my highlights, not all the same or in a different spot. And you can leave a couple. You don't have to have just the one. You just want to make sure it's kind of on the same side. Okay, I think that worked. Just tipping the edge of my brush back in that paint. because I want to deepen this side. I'm starting to realize it's all about how much water you have on your brush to get it the way that you want. Now you can fuss around with this for a long time. Now I'm tapping my brush off on a paper towel so that I'm trying to really, oops, there's a paintbrush hair. Trying to control how much water is being dispensed, on my ornament. Now I'm going to go into a more of a teal color. So again, I'm going to take my tea light. This is more of a teal green rather than a teal blue, but that's what's in this palette. So I'm just going to go ahead and use it. And of course, the more paint you put on the rim of this, the more paint you'll have to drag into the center. Now I'm going to put my third ornament here, just like using a stamp. Now I've rinsed my brush. I wanted to take off all that pigment that I painted on there, so I've rinsed it off. And again, I'm tapping it on my paper towel because I don't want it to be out of control for me, because I'm not sure once you get working with it and you realize how much water you want to use on your brush and really kind of how your brush works. Not all brushes are created equal. So I'm just dragging that pigment down into the circle. Just picking it up on the tip of my brush and pulling it in. Again, I want to leave a little highlight. And I don't want any of the water to bleed out beyond the ornament. I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing here. Now I'm grabbing some more of that paint. Now, because I've had my brush in here and there's water, so it's moving a little easier. Some folks you'll see on a reel or on YouTube, they can just paint and leave their paper where it is. I have to twirl it. I have to spin it around. I'm just trying to smooth that out a little bit. Now you could come back in here and check your color wheel and deepen this. I'm not going to do that today because I don't want this little video to be too terribly long. Now on this one, I kind of have a little watermark and water line. You can leave that, but I'm going to see if I can blend that in a little better. Doesn't look bad, but okay. So there I have my 3 ornaments. Now I'm going to take a smaller brush because it's just easier for me. And I'm going to go into my gold palette here. Now I did spritz some water on this one because I just want to paint little tops. On my ornaments. Now, you don't have to have the gold watercolor paint. You could do this with a marker if you have, and you may not want it gold. You could do it any color that you want, really. You might want to, I didn't do this on my other one. You might want to put a little circle here. Might be hard to see. Like a little loop that's on the top of the, you know, how the ornaments have that little metal bit. And this is really just like a little box. You might want to round the top. This fine text watercolor paint is really hard to get soft. So I'm really not getting too much on my brush, which I think I would like a little more, but maybe I'll spritz this again. I like to test it on my paper towel just to make sure it's not too runny. Just give myself a little idea of that little circle on the top. Okay. I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to dry this just real quick. And you could leave it dry naturally. Now, of course, you can do a lot more to these than I'm doing. But I'm going to take, if you have a Sharpie pen or maybe a Pitt pen, you want something that's not going to bleed. Now, I want to put my strings like it's hanging from a tree. And I'm doing mine upside down because for me, it's easier to draw towards myself. You could take a ruler and do this. And then I'm just going to make 2 little loops on either side. Just wherever. Now, if you've watched any of my videos when I'm doing anything like this, I kind of like to go around the outside edge and make it look a little more whimsical, which you can see I have done here. Now, some people can just go zoot, 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 and it looks great, but I don't think my hand's that steady. So I'm just coming around and just doing little sketchy type lines. And if some of them come outside the bulb, I'm okay with that. I just like the way it looks. Now, I'm going to come back with my little brush here and just put a little more color here and there around the outside edge. Still using that blue, my tumbled glass. And then I pulled out my Stays On. This is a ink that will stay on and not bleed. And I have a Stampin' Up! Stamp that says Blessings, which I'm going to use for this. And I did just use it, but I'm going to stamp off and just make sure I have enough ink. So I'm just taking a piece of scrap paper. Let's see, I need a little more ink. I want to make sure I have a nice dark stamp. And now getting this on where I want it can be a challenge. Just give that a press. And I'm going to sign it. People keep saying, make sure you sign what you do. I'll do that. Now I'm going to take some of this paint, this gold paint, and I'm going to put some gold spatter, which I did not do on the other one, but I can always come back and add that. And again, I'm going to test this to make sure it looks the way I want. And I'm using a long liner brush. I'm just going to add some little spatters. You can do this, like I said, if you don't have the gold watercolor paint. You could use black. I think the black would look good if you have some black paint. It's just giving me a very, very fine spatter, which is good. It's good. Now I have this other gold paint here. I always forget that I have it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that gold spatter on the camera. This is a really thick, this is matte metallics Deco Art flat metallic paint. Oh, I haven't had it opened in a while. Let me heat up my lid here. If you have trouble getting things open, a lot of times if you apply a little bit of heat, you can get it open. But just make sure that it's not too hot for you to grasp. You don't want to burn yourself. Oh, I should have opened this before I recorded. Well, you know what? That's not going to open right this second. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. Let's see if this works. I'm going to take a Q-tip and dip that in my gold paint. Yeah. And I'm just rubbing some gold around the edge. I could probably add a little water to my Q-tip. So see, this is easy, right? You don't have to draw anything. You're using stamp that you might have in your stash, hopefully. A stencil. And you don't have to do the stencil. You could just do the ornaments. And I think it would look fabulous too. And there I have it. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you try it. And that's all for my Bricolage Daily today. Thanks for joining me at my desk, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget, take time to be creative and enjoy the journey. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.